I talked with Dr. Dave Nachmanoff, the touring guitarist for Al Stewart, who also has a PhD in philosophy. Listen on to see what I had to ask. Welcome to the show.
Thanks very much. Good to be here.
Well, first off, you are the touring guitarist for Al Stewart, which this was like a dream come true for you. What was this like? What is doing this like?
Well, it's been a long, kind of strange journey because I wanted to play guitar with Al from when I was about 13 years old, and by a sort of series of strange coincidences, I wound up in the UK, in England, when I was 19. I was studying over there, and I had the opportunity to go and hear him at the Royal Albert Hall in London. And through that, I managed to meet his guitarist at the time, Peter White. And some years later, Peter remembered me when they were playing in San Francisco, and we wound up sitting down and jamming. And unbeknownst to me, Peter was actually just about to move on to pursue his career in smooth jazz, which he's done very successfully, and needed a replacement. So he took my number, and I got a call a few days later from Al's management, and didn't actually get the job right away, but became friends with Al, got to know him, and a couple years later wound up starting to tour with him. And that was, well over 14 years ago. So
that's really cool.
It's been quite a journey.
That's really cool. So recently you reassembled the band from the Year of the Cat album. What drove you to want to do this?
Well, it was actually because back in 2013, I did a tour in England with Al, and he did a show at the Royal Albert Hall where we first playing the Year of the Cat album with as many of the original people who played it as a cat, which is most of them. And so that was amazing for me to get to meet them and perform with them. And then we came back in 2015 and did another British tour where we did two shows at the Royal Albert Hall, and again kind of recreated the Year of the Cat album, and actually another one of his albums as well, and with more or less that same band. And it was always a little bit of a dream in my mind to record with some of the musicians that he'd recorded with back in the 70s that I grew up listening to. But then after actually having performed with them and having met them, it seemed a little less impossible than before. Combine that with the fact that I had some friends who knew a wonderful producer in the UK, in Wales, in Martin Levan, and they'd been telling me about this guy in his studio for a little while. And suddenly the pieces all kind of fell together in my mind, and I thought, well, I'm not going to get all those British musicians to come to California to record, but if I could find a studio over there, maybe I can together over there. And through this friend of mine, I connected with Martin Levan, this amazing engineer and producer, and he was kind enough to agree to work on the record, because he doesn't do a lot of projects anymore. He sort of just does the ones that he wants to do. I wasn't sure if this would be one of them, but luckily it was, and he did an incredible job. I think he's so great.
So you have been able to play with a lot of your musical heroes. Who's the one that has really been the highlight of the people you've gotten to play with?
Oh, it's really, it's kind of hard to say, but just thinking even within the sort of the Al Stewart world and the group of musicians who played on Spinoza's Dream, they were all fantastic. But Tim Rennick, who was the original sort of lead guitarist on a lot of Al's stuff, was just amazing to meet and to play with, and super nice guy. And I'm excited because we're actually going back to England next spring and doing another tour with the trio. So it'll be Tim Rennick and Al and myself playing acoustic guitars all over the UK in the spring for about a month. And, kind of looking forward to that.
That's going to be fun, I bet. So you recently released your new album, Spinoza's Dream. Can you tell my listeners a little bit about this?
Yes, well, one part we talked about already a little bit, which is where it was done and who it was done with. It was recorded in Wales with this producer, Martin Levan, who's got an incredible track record. If you Google him, he worked with Andrew Lloyd Webber for a number of years as his main engineer. And he's worked with everybody from Iron Maiden to Ralph McTell. Fantastic guy. were the ones who played with Al back in the 70s, all of them except for myself. But the other thing that's unusual about this album is that it kind of goes back to my former life before I was playing music full time. I actually taught philosophy, and so I'm actually Dr. Dave. And the album is the first time that I've really kind of combined these two things quite so strongly. And I decided on this album, every track was going to be related to a different philosopher. So some of them are very clearly related, and some of them more subtly. But that was kind of the germ for the songs of the album. It's almost like a concept album.
So who is your favorite philosopher?
Not too surprisingly, maybe. I'd have to say Spinoza, just why he got the title track. But I have always had a soft spot for Spinoza. An interesting philosophically and an interesting life too. So
That's cool. I know that when you were 9 years old, you played with Libba Cotten, and you later wrote a song about the experience called Kindred Spirits. Can you tell me a little bit about the meeting of Libba and the song you wrote?
Sure. Yes, that was another really sort of very, very lucky thing that happened in my life, where I was, as you said, about 9 years old. I'd only played guitar for maybe a year and a half, something like that. But I'd won a little talent contest in the town where I grew up in Virginia. And the prize for winning was that I actually got to do a set at a little folk festival there. So one of the songs that I played, because I didn't have a huge repertoire at that time, was Freight Train by Elizabeth, better known as Libba Cotten. And as it turned out, she was living not too far away, somewhere in the Washington, D.C. area. And somebody who heard me at that folk festival came up afterwards and said, would you like to meet the woman who wrote that song? And I said, of course, yeah, I'd love to. So somehow this fellow, his name was Ted Eaton, set up a dinner with this family that were neighbors of mine. And I was there with Libba Cotten, and after dinner we pulled out the guitars, and she taught me some songs that we played, and she invited me to do a performance a few weeks later on the grounds of the Washington Monument with her, and just play a couple songs at a show that she was doing. And that was an amazing experience. And some years later, probably 20 years after that, thinking back to the experience, I wrote this song called Kindred Spirits that just kind of tells the story about meeting her and how it was so special because she was 82 at the time, I should add. So I was 9 years old and she was 82. And she lived about another 10 years and continued to play, I think, really almost till the end, which is pretty inspiring. But she kind of passed the folk tradition down to me at that moment. And, that's one of the really cool things about folk music is that it does get passed from generation to generation. The song isn't really just about my experience of meeting Libba Cotten, but more about that passing down of tradition.
That's really cool. So you started at a young age. What advice do you have for young musicians?
Well, first of all, make sure you play a lot. Play as much as you can. Don't neglect your schoolwork and other things, and do have a balanced life. But make sure you play a lot, because the 10,000 hours really are what's going to make the difference between having the skills you need and not having those skills. So put in the 10,000 hours. Much easier to do that while you're young, and you can learn faster when you're young. The other thing is really always be open to different things. It's really easy to kind of get into a rut and think that this kind of music or that kind of music is the only thing in the world when you're young, or your friends only like this or only like that. But try to be open-minded and try playing a lot of different styles of music and a lot of different instruments. If you're going to eventually maybe make your living as a musician, you're probably going to need to do a lot of different things to survive in music. I know I do. Most musicians I know, except for a few very, very, very famous ones, wear a lot of hats. Most of us are performers on our own. We play in bands. We play as side men or women to other people. We teach sometimes. We produce. We do studio work. So it's really good to have a lot of different things you can do, a lot of different skills that you can call upon. So that's my advice: is to try a lot of different things, and also your training in theory are a good thing to know, regardless of what genre of music you want to play, whether it's classical, folk, rock, bluegrass, country, jazz, doesn't matter. Your training in theory or your friends. They seem scary at first, but you'll always benefit from knowing more about theory. It's don't do it.
That's great advice. If you could go back in time and give a younger you advice, what would you say?
There's certainly, even an older me sometimes needs some advice. Basically, I wouldn't remind myself because I wouldn't know then. I'd tell my young self, it's got to be about the music. Don't lose sight of that. Don't look to other people to wave a magic wand to make things happen for you. You've got to just figure you're going to do everything for yourself, and mostly concentrate on the music, and the rest will sort of take care of itself. That's not to say that to be a professional musician, you don't have to work hard at the marketing and the bookkeeping and the logistics and all of that. You do, but if you get caught up in thinking it's going to be about limousines and hotels and groupies and fame and money, you're going to very quickly go wrong. And I speak from personal experience and from that of many musicians I've known. My advice to myself as a younger musician: forget about all the fame and fortune and just concentrate on the music.
That's good advice. So my podcast is called I Had to Ask. What question do you wish people had to ask you in interviews?
Oh gosh, that one takes me by surprise. I don't know. I love getting questions about the specific songs, just because I love when people actually really think about if the songs make them think and make them wonder about something like they wouldn't have thought of before they heard the song. That's always kind of cool. So I don't know. Nobody is really asking me too much about how to live the virtuous life, which is what philosophers are often concerned with. And if they were to ask me that, I'd say, well, I'm not really any wiser than anybody else, but the one thing I would say is kindness never hurts. But above all, just try to find ways to be kind. If you do that, usually most things will fall into line a lot better than if you don't.
Definitely. Is there anything else you'd like to tell my listeners?
Well, one of the things we didn't really talk about that I do that's a little unusual is I write and record custom songs for people. And that's been a really interesting process where somebody will have a relative with a birthday coming up or an anniversary or just any kind of occasion or a memorial for someone who's passed on, whatever it is, they'll ask me to write a song about it, a custom song. And it really is written from scratch. I don't write, to a formula or anything like that. And that's been a really powerful thing for me just because it's such a personal thing to write a song that becomes part of somebody else's life. But often, somebody you don't even know. Sometimes people halfway around the world. It's a really interesting process. So the custom song thing is something that I'm really looking to do more of in the future because it's interesting.
Well, thanks for being on the show.